Welcome to Ideagen TV, presented globally by Microsoft. Today, we are ecstatic to have with us the President and Global COO of Hitachi Solutions America, Tom Galambos. Tom, welcome.
Thank you, George. Happy to be here.
You know, Tom, it's super exciting to have you here for a lot of reasons, one of which is you're doing some incredible work, really across the planet, and you have an incredible partnership as well with Microsoft. How has this partnership, Tom, helped accelerate innovation in the cloud service industry?
Well, I think number one, our whole business, we've built a business around Microsoft tech. So our relationship both with Microsoft and customers is fundamental to our business. I think in simple terms, as I look at this, we're kind of in the middle. Microsoft is our great partner that builds all this great technology and innovates daily. In fact, innovates at such a pace some days it makes my head spin and makes our job a little bit hard. And then on the other side of that partnership, we have our customers. And so really the role that we play is we have to take all that tech and we have to bring it to life and drive business value for our clients. And to the extent that we can do that, we can really both drive innovation within our clients and leverage the innovation that Microsoft delivers really throughout the world. That value, driving that level of value is what really drives the innovation, really feedback loop.
You know, it's incredible to hear, obviously, through this interview, your excitement as the leader, you know, really the president and global COO. I mean, what an exciting title. And, you know, in so many interviews that we've conducted, I've found that it always starts at the top. In other words, setting the tone at the top. As a leader in cloud solutions, why, Tom, do you believe that innovation in tech plays such a crucial role in helping your clients achieve their goals?
Fundamentally, I start that top-down conversation, and the first thing we always talk about doesn't have the word tech in it yet, and it's about how do we drive value for customers? Because to the extent that we drive value for them, it builds a long-term relationship for us as a customer. Frankly, makes us feel good when we leave and say, wow, we did a really good thing for them. We helped them drive their business forward. We created opportunity for their employees. It's very fulfilling. And if we look, but then as we look at the world that we live in today, one of the biggest enablers to do that is really innovation and technology. So we get to work in this really cool space of, hey, Mr. Customer, how can we drive value? How is the world changing for you? What's going to allow you to be closer connected to customers? What's going to allow you to optimize, whether it's supply chains or your business, or innovate within your business? And then how can we take this technology and apply that? And so the fun for us is figuring out, because at the end of the day, the tech's not worth anything if it doesn't drive business value. And understanding business value allows us to give feedback loops back into Microsoft as we talk to them of perhaps where some of the innovation needs to be, or innovation that's providing more value than perhaps some other areas they're pursuing. So it's a very synchronated, really little dance that we do, and it's super fun.
Super fun. I love that. And that's, again, where leadership kicks in. And I'd like to ask you a more sort of, not personal question, but more of a contextual question. So in your current role, in this role as president and global COO at Hitachi Solutions America, what are you most proud of?
Simple answer for me, and I think it's what's driven me through my career. If I really say, what do I like? I've always liked technology. I started as an engineer outside of the IT tech in aerospace, actually in space, and spent time as a rocket scientist early in my career. So the technology part was always interesting, but at the end of the day, what I really liked was building and leading successful teams. So as I look at what we've accomplished in the business that we have today, by far, that's what I'm most proud of. And as we think about the business we're in, as I've been talking about, we're professional services. We have to take smart minds that can combine technology and understand customers' needs and business value and drive solutions for them. And that takes people. And so the ability to build a very strong team and to create an environment where people can be creative and can excel and to do great things for customers and feel good about it, motivates and drives me. And the end result of all of that is we have a successful business. So as much as I think about go-to-market strategies and all the normal things in business, at the end of the day, fundamentally, I know that if we hire great people that have a lot of enthusiasm, provide an opportunity for them to be creative and drive business value, we have this little picture that I talk about. It's called the flywheel of success. It really will self-create its own momentum and drive the business and be successful. Super proud of my leadership team. I think we're in the level of collaboration and the lack of politics and the fact that we just do the right thing and try to be very open and transparent with my people. I obviously try to embellish that and really express that myself in terms of the way that I operate, and we've done a really good job driving that down through the organization. And that's what I think about first. That's what gets me as much out of bed. I like to win the big deal and hear the customer stories. I love to have my people come in excited. It's like a dad with when your kids come back and say, hey man, I got an A on this test, or I did everything, and how proud you feel inside. That's the way I like to hear about my team coming together and say, hey, we did this for a customer. Isn't that great? Look what it did for them. And those things are super motivating and really, at the end of the day, drive the business.
Well, what's so exciting to hear is your excitement about your team. I mean, that is the flywheel of success. I love that. I've never heard that before. So we're going to attribute that to you when we cite that in the future. But Tom, my gosh, I mean, we've been through one of the most, we'll call it, interesting moments in human history. The entire planet experienced the same thing. And yet, despite that, you doubled down, it sounds like. You doubled down on your team. You've doubled down on that leadership piece. I've heard empathy and everything you're talking about. And that excitement and that flywheel of success is the ultimate sort of game changer, I think, for a company, right?
Yeah, absolutely. For us, it was a scary time for all of us as we entered the world of COVID. And what did that mean? And the first thing that we shared with our team is our number one objective is to try to maintain the team. We were fully confident. None of us knew how long this was going to last, but we were fully confident that there was going to be a huge business opportunity coming out of COVID. And since the core of our business was our people, our ability to catch that ride back up was highly dependent on us having the people. So we hunkered down, we cut costs, we secured cash, we did all the things we needed to do to be able to go out the door and commit to the team that we're going to keep everybody here through COVID. And I think the interesting thing for us was, in a good way, for our business, we were wrong that where it's going to be an impact, as we've all seen, particularly in tech and with the level of innovation and the kinds of services and solutions that we were already delivering for customers. There was just increased demand for that. So we actually saw the best growth that we've had year over year for the last 2 years through COVID. And did some things that we didn't think were possible in terms of working remotely, leveraging talent really around the world in terms of sourcing solutions and creating value and driving solutions for customers and doing some pretty cool stuff as all of a sudden they were hit with tremendous new demands for them, and how could technology and innovation come in the door and help them solve those problems.
And so pivoting off of that, which is obviously very exciting, Tom, what new innovations in technology are you most excited about?
I think the one, and Microsoft's making huge investments there, but the one that's going to be the most interesting for us takes this world of AI and machine learning and is starting to embed that kind of across all things that we do. and maybe at a, don't think big scary AI, but it's more down at, unique workload levels or the way people work. And some of it takes adjusting. I'm just starting to like the fact that when I type an email, it tries to finish the sentence for me. At first it annoyed me, but now I kind of like it. But I think as we see that just become embedded in all the aspects, whether it's through, where you would think of it as like core analytics and data science, but embedded in all the business applications, and we bring that together, it's going to allow an acceleration for businesses, both in terms of freeing people up to work on less of the mundane and I'll call it administrative level tasks, because that can be automated within the system. And then, but the really cool part for me is starting to really provide real insights into the business as you get more into the data science aspects of a business and have real understanding and understand, here's what my customers are really doing, and I have real-time insights to that allow me to act on that and meet my customers' demands. And I think there will be benefits. Obviously, a business will benefit for that, but I think the end user side of that, whether it's the employee or the end customer of our customers, will also see great benefits there. We're going to see a real acceleration of that across the business, and that's an area of real excitement for me as we think about, in this world, thinking out even more than 24 months is a really long time, right? But as I sort of look at that kind of time horizon.
Incredible insights, Tom. I'm just really blown away by what you've just described. And so I'd like to just mention innovation. We've talked a little bit about it here, and I'd like to understand, with the multitude of industries in the, sort of that landscape that you're involved in, how do you maintain innovation? How do you do that? How do you even begin to do that?
It's a really big challenge, and I alluded to it a little earlier, that the pace of change and this fire hose that, being in the middle between customer and Microsoft, that I have Microsoft over here and I'm literally, stuff's coming out every day. And how do we absorb that? How do we understand that? And then how do we take that to a customer is a big challenge for a business. And then I'll go back and harp on a word I keep using a lot, because I think it's central to everything, and that's business value. And so if I think about driving business value, that has to be done in the context of a customer and their business. And so the way we think about that is we have a very focused industry perspective, and we go to market and we work within a select set of industries. And we're a large company, but for us, they're not every industry that exists. And so we've aligned our business around industry. We have people that own that, hey, in specific roles, where's the industry today? Where's it going? How does it need to evolve? And so they become thought leaders within our organization and help really think about that translation of business value and where we need to go. And then we take that back through the system and understand what's coming from a technology standpoint. So we try to absorb all of that, look at that through an industry lens, have a lot of dialogue with our customers, because at the end of the day, that's the real driver. There's this kind of a 50-50 of, hey, the customer knows what they want, and that helps drive innovation and how we can apply things. And then the really tricky part is really great when you can figure it out is they don't know what they don't know, and how can we be super innovative and bring something there to say, hey, did you know, if you think about your business this way, we can apply this level of innovation and perhaps redefine your business itself. And we do a little bit of that by having at least multiple industry views. We'll say, hey, these things we're doing in healthcare providers actually are applicable in the manufacturing space. We think about it in a different way. How do we bring that forward to our customers and expose that in a way to help elevate their business and drive them forward?
Incredible insights, absolutely profound, incredible insights. And I'd like to shift to you, Tom, to ask you specifically, what do you see as a key milestone? What was that milestone that really helped shape your career path?
I think I'm going to say there are probably two big things that happened. I alluded to the fact, kind of where I started my career, and I was on the one hand, it sounds weird, but I was fortunate early in my career that I was working, doing some work. We were developing a rather, brand new innovative systems, and we had as part of the normal, this was all R&D work. We had a pretty good failure. And I happened to be in the place where, how do we go fix this? How do we move the design forward, or change how we're designing this system? Was kind of right in the area that I work. So fairly early in career, I got thrown into a situation where I've got a high level exposure on a very critical system, got to interact with the leaders that I probably would have never seen for another 6 or 7 years in the normal world of aerospace, very hierarchical, and both exposed me to a lot and allowed me to build a network early in my career that I was able to then leverage. And so I took that forward for the next 8 or 9 years, and then we hit this interesting thing, I'm going to age myself now, called the internet, in the .com boom. And as I sat there and I looked at the challenges we were staffing, and kind of the excitement and the growth and the opportunity this could provide, it was, how do I do a pivot? And that's really when I left aerospace and went into this world effectively, where we became a Microsoft partner and said, I think we have opportunity to go build a global business as a system integrator and leverage Microsoft technology, and then really drive that forward. And bringing what I had built in terms of systems thinking and the ability to look across complex integrated systems to the fore from my past experience into that space, for me, was an accelerator. And on from a business career, and it's been a great ride. And I've been riding that on the Microsoft wave, so to speak, now for almost 20 years. Actually more than 20 now, as I do the math, and I kind of like math. So that was probably the big drivers for me. And then that journey being a part of a lot of things I've talked about is the recognition of the way to go make these things happen is you got to build a high-performing, high-functioning team that can come together and deliver complex solutions. So that was always the undercurrent as we built this business. Tech on one side, the people that can deliver it on the other. How do we bring those together in the context of driving value for customers? So sometimes it can sound simple, hard to do, but the basic physics, as I say, is fairly straightforward.
Yeah, it sounds fairly straightforward. I mean, you've got the tech, you've got the people, and you've gone into great detail in helping us understand and our global audience understand your leadership, that systems thinking, that approach to the flywheel of success that I'm going to harp on a bit because I love it.
Yeah, I did see that. I can't think of the author, but he wrote a great book, and I read that, and I translated it. It's a short book. I'll go find it. I think he's out of Stanford, but I was like, wow, this just all clicks. I took it a little and applied it a little bit more to the context of professional services, but it rang true for me as soon as I read it, and it's been around. It's pretty old. I was like, this is a great way to convey this to people in terms of understanding at times the simple mechanics of what makes for a successful business.
That's right, exactly. And so let's turn to your clients for a moment. So you've
Sure.
got clients, they're great. You've grown during this past few years. You're doing great things. Your team is accelerating that growth, and you're leading with empathy, and you're leading in a way that I think is profound. Okay. How are these clients now helping to drive innovations at Hitachi?
Well, it's back to that little equation of we try to teach our clients, but we also learn from our clients. And so as much as Microsoft makes a bunch of tech and thinks it's going to be applied in certain ways, it doesn't really get useful and become reality till it's put to use in a client environment and is driving value for the client. So at times we'll have ideas and we'll bring that to customers and drive that forward. But as we go through that process with customers and understand what they're trying to do or the challenges that they have, then we learn from them. And we're like, and it really not only impacts the technology, but the way we think about applying that technology. And so a big part of what we do is as much about, which people talk about a lot, but it still gets, I think it becomes secondary. Everybody loves to talk about the tech, But the other half of that is, how do we do the change management? How do we adjust people's behaviors and understand how organizations can absorb this, which is as challenging, I'm back to people again, as the technology itself. So there's a feedback loop there that's both between us and the customer. And then it also provides a feedback loop for us back to Microsoft. And, we are fortunate enough to participate on some select advisory groups where we'll get early insight into tech that's coming, but they also very much look to us, say, hey, what are customers saying? Where are their needs? How's this landing with customers? Is it driving value? And it's fun to also be a voice. We get to be the voice of the customer back into Microsoft to help in, frankly, keep them in the forefront of what's going to be valuable out to customers, really across the world.
And so it's cloud solutions. So you're focused on cloud solutions and providing those solutions with Microsoft to the clients. So where is this future taking us? Where are cloud solutions taking us?
Well, the cloud does a couple of interesting things. One, and we're already seeing it, it allows for a level of scale that didn't exist before. And if I go all the way back in my history, back when I was an engineer, there were a set of problems that we understood the physics. We were trying to solve these problems, and the constraint was literally compute capacity. What could we go do? The tech wasn't there we'd have to morph our approach to problems to solve them due to the capability of the technology of the day. If I fast forward today, those level of problems still occur, but the size of those problems now, it's like that problem now is, how do I model the global climate, which we actually can do fairly well. But for what's more day-to-day to more customers, I think the level of scale and capability is so much larger, and that's going to enable a lot of things in customers. There's also elements of it from the operational standpoint of just, how do I think about my business, with all the threats in the world relative to security and the challenges there, the fact that I can have a centralized way where things are in the cloud, which at first people were very scared about security, but the reality is today, what Microsoft does from a security standpoint on the cloud is far beyond what almost all customers were doing on-prem. And so there's a level of benefit there. And then the last piece is, I think, a little bit of what we've seen here lately is, for me and lots of our clients, is it just enables more of this work from anywhere, work with any set of resources. I can globally resource. I can have people solving customer problems today that live anywhere in the world. And as companies rethink the way that they have employees, particularly those that are in the services business, a little harder in manufacturing, I think there's huge benefits there. And then back to the innovation of AI and machine learning and how we bring that, and that becomes embedded, that becomes, again, an enabler at the individual level for people to take that technology and help them just be more productive every day.
And now, we think about how this innovation is taking place and where cloud is taking us. I'd like to ask you a little bit about the global goals and Hitachi's role in helping achieve those. So the United Nations, all 193 member states, a big feat, all 193 member states agreed to these 17 global goals. And here we are, we're approaching 2030. A few years ago, we were looking at the decade. Now we're a few years into that decade of achieving those goals by 2030. How are you and Hitachi Solutions helping to further these global goals of the United Nations, the global goals, the sustainable development goals?
Well, I think it's a great question for us at Hitachi. We are very committed to all of those goals. And the interesting thing about Hitachi and why it's fun to work here is, within the Hitachi umbrella, if people don't understand, there are many hundreds of Hitachi companies. And we're unique in that a large part of the business is the world that I live in, which is, I'll call it IT and tech, but we also build things. So in some areas, I think about Hitachi Energy and what they're doing related to energy transfer and microgrids and the things that can help enable and allow for the entire energy grid, which opens the door to green energy in a different way. Those things are really interesting to me. And my sister companies work on those. If I bring it down to a little bit about how I think about that, there's probably a few areas where we try to focus. One of those is, enabling our customers. So applying tech in ways that drive sustainability, leveraging Microsoft Sustainability Cloud and the efforts going on there to help customers themselves improve their overall carbon footprint and how they run their business. It's more about us enabling customers versus what we can do as an organization other than not have folks travel and reduce our carbon footprint that way. I think some of the other areas that are of real interest to me is I go back to this global sourcing and what we can do in terms of building my business. I can create opportunities for people in lots of places around the world, even into, down into third world organizations, and the impacts that we can have there in simple ways of how do we provide meaningful work and, opportunities for people to work on this cool tech, which then raises their standard of living. And whether we're helping address poverty issues or just raise the general standards of living for people in other countries, for me, I find that very motivating, and look at, as my team grows globally, how I've been able to see that happen and the impact that has. It gets a little bit lost when you're thinking about the work. And then probably the big area that I'm very passionate about, that's very directly controllable within my team, is really the diversity goals that we have in the business. I mean, we're professional services, so we're about people, and I need more people. So as I said, how do I reach out to underserved areas within technology and really change our footprint as I think about the demographics of our business, and provide opportunities for women and minorities in the business. So we have very significant focused efforts on not only recruiting and bringing those people into the business, but then how we elevating them and developing their careers within Hitachi Solutions specifically. And that's something that we'll continue to focus on. Hopefully you can tell that those areas are high areas of passion for me in the business. I'm back to, because at the end of the day, if I do that, I build stronger team again. And the minute I have a stronger team and I've created that opportunity, I get higher business success. And again, it gets pretty simplistic for me from that perspective. If we execute on it, execution's hard, but if we do it, we're going to see the results, and I won't even have to worry about bottom line.
Well, Tom, I'm personally professionally inspired by what you're, saying here, because you're so focused on the people. Even though you're in tech, I don't know that I've ever heard anyone as passionate about the people. The passion that you're bringing to the table for that component, which is the key component in your business, obviously, is really remarkable. And so I'd like to switch gears just a little bit with a final question to you, which is focused on, for Hitachi Solutions, in your role as president and global COO, how important is it to be able to adapt, change, and maintain all of this at the forefront of your industry?
It's fundamental. The business breaks if we don't do it. And as I talked about that fire hose and that level of learning, and joking a little bit about 24 months is a long time in our business, the reality is there's a level of truth to that. We have to be, at the forefront of understanding the new opportunities in technology, and then how we translate that into value for customers in landing that with customers. And so it creates great challenges, for our existing workforce, because all day long, I need them. At the end of the day, the fundamentals are the businesses. I need them out doing client work. That drives the revenue of the business. But at the same time, how do I stay current and understand technology? And then how do we look ahead at what's coming? Everybody that's in our business, they're here because they love the tech and they love to learn, and they like to know what the next cool thing is and how we can go make somebody successful with that. So I think we have a broad level of passion around that in the organization. And if you don't have that, you're going to be challenged here in our business, because there are some big demands there. And for me, it is making sure that we're balanced in how we handle the workload for individuals, but at the same time, knowing that that's what gets us excited, and that there's more to come. And then you get to unleash that creative part of your brain. It's like, wow, okay, here's some new tech. How can I go apply that in sort of a real world context in a way that, you know, drives some value or some meaning for people? That part's really fun. And I know that's what drives people. And then when those things land and they're successful, there's a great feeling of self-satisfaction across the team and the business when we see the successes we have. But then it's immediately like, what's next? What's next? How do we go on to the next one? Because we know the next, and that what's next is not necessarily the next customer. It's what's next for that customer. Because I think there's an opportunity for a lifetime of this transformation of customers from a tech perspective. And, you know, the phrase I've gotten through this whole thing without using, which is that, you know, digital transformation, but it's real in terms of what we can go do for customers.
What an incredible takeaway. Digital transformation is real. Tom Galambos, President, Global COO, Hitachi Solutions America. You are leading the way, my friend. Incredibly inspiring. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ideagen.